game of Sentence Pictionary, first, set up the game. To do this, first give each player a sheet of paper and a writing utensil. To make the game more interesting, you can also use colored pencils or colored pens. Players in the game will sit in a circle, or at least in a setup where you can establish a person to your left to pass your paper to. Each player should also have a firm surface to write on, so they may either sit around a table or they may use a hard surface such as a book to draw and write on. They will also need enough space to be able to write and draw on their paper without the other players seeing their work. After setting up the game, players are ready to start playing. Sentence Pictionary is a light, non-competitive game where players are alternating between writing sentences and then drawing pictures based on those sentences. When all is said and done, players will look at the progression of the sentences and pictures, and the results can be quite entertaining. The game is best played with groups of 4 or more people, and it plays especially well with large groups. To play the game, first, each player will write a sentence at the top of their piece of paper. They may write any sentence. Their sentence can be as serious or as silly as they choose to make it. After writing their sentence at the top of their page, each player will turn their paper over and pass it to the player to their left. After each player has passed their paper to the player to their left, all players will secretly look at the sentence written on the top of the paper. They will then do their best to draw a picture under the sentence that represents what was written at the top of the page. Players should not draw their picture too large, because the page will be used for several turns. They should also leave some space between the sentence and their picture, because they will have to fold the paper to hide the sentence before passing it on. While drawing, players should not be concerned with their drawing skills. Part of the fun of the game is how the sentences evolved, based on the pictures drawn. People with poor drawing skills often make the game more fun. The only rule, while drawing pictures, is that players are not allowed to write any words or numbers. So this player could not write speech bubbles on their picture, or label things. After the player finishes their drawing, they will fold the paper so the sentence is hidden from the next player, but their drawing is still visible. They will then flip the paper over and pass it to the next player to their left. After each player has completed their picture and passed their paper to their left, all players will, once again, flip over their paper and look at their new sheet. So this player would see the picture the previous player drew. They will now have to create a new sentence based on the picture they see. They will not know what the initial sentence was. They will have to make their sentence only based on what they see in the picture drawn by the previous player. After completing their sentence, that player will fold their paper so the picture they saw is hidden and only their sentence is visible. After doing this, they will flip their paper over and pass it to the player to their left. This will continue with players alternating between drawing a picture based on the sentence they see and writing a sentence based on the picture they see until the end of the game. The game of Sentence Pictionary ends when one of two things happens. In a smaller game, the game ends when a player receives the paper they started the game with. So if it was a 4-player game, each player would write a sentence and pass their paper. Then each player would draw a picture and pass. Then another sentence and pass. Then another picture and pass. After this, each player would get the paper they started the game with, and the game would be over. In a large game, players can continue playing until they run out of space on the paper they are using. So if they keep their pictures small enough, they can fit several rounds before having to end the game. After the game ends, each player will unfold their paper and look at the sentences and pictures. The results can be quite entertaining. After looking at their paper, each player can pass their sheets around so all players can see the other player's sheets. If players would like to play again, they can simply flip the paper over and use the other side. Or they can grab a new sheet of paper and write a new sentence on top.